Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so thankful for having your attention today in this lovely quarantine. My name is Marisa Stoute, and my informative speech is called The Power of Passion. During this speech, I'll be informing you about the American hero, Robert Smalls. Imagine being born into the life of a slave, stealing a Confederate ship, giving it to the Union Army, freeing your fellow slaves, meeting President Abraham Lincoln, and becoming a famous politician. It sounds like a ridiculous movie trope, but it's real. It's really interesting how it just feels so overdone, but he just really went against the impossible. In his biography, I will note his humble beginnings, the story of the legendary escape to freedom, and his life as a free man. From the day he entered the world, he was made to be oppressed. But according to biography.com, Robert Smalls was born in Beaufort, South Carolina, on April 5th, 1839, to a house slave, Lydia Polite, and the son of the plantation owner, Henry McKee. When Smalls was 12 years old, he was practically hired as a rent-a-slave, as a day laborer on the waterfront in Charleston, and there he met his wife. Smalls worked his way up the proverbial ranks, becoming a lamplighter, a dock worker, a rigger, and a sailmaker before finally being able to pilot ships. But since black people couldn't be captains, he was labeled a wheelman and was allowed to sail all over the Charleston harbor. But the story does not just end there. Just a mile away from the harbor, there was a Union blockade. And if he could get there, he would be free. On May 13th, 1862, he finally set his plan of escape. The white crew was ashore, and he was alone with 8 other slaves, including his wife and children on board. They seized their chance around 2-3 a.m., and Smalls donned the long coat of a captain's uniform and a straw hat and streamed out the southern wharf. The great-grandson of Robert Smalls, Michael B. Moore, presented a TED Talk explaining this entire story. As Robert and the party sailed onto the open waters, there were 5 different forts that they had to sail across, including Fort Sumter, the one that started the Civil War. Robert and his wife knew that if they were caught, they'd be tortured and murdered to deter other slaves from following in their footsteps. And because of this, they lined the entire hull of the boat with dynamite in case the plane went astray in any way. The escape was either do or die. As they passed by the final fort, Fort Sumter, they veered toward the USS Onward on the Union blockade instead of the Confederate vessel's usual journey. Luckily, Hannah remembered to bring the white duvet sheet, and at the last second they hung it up, signaling surrender. And as they sailed into the blockade, they were free. After that daring dash of freedom, he gained much attention in the North. According to Shannon Russell, the crew members of the Onward, they were shocked. And news quickly spread across. And Congress even awarded the Smalls with a share of $1,000. And that, in today's term, that's like $33,000 actually. So it's kind of a lot. He even met President Abraham Lincoln, who asked him why black women even dare to do such a thing. Smalls replied with one word, and that was freedom. On December 1st, 1863, Smalls became the captain of the Planter, the first African American to hold that title. After the war, Smalls bought his former master's house and moved his family into it. Kind of ironic. In 1865, he became a Republican and voted into the South Carolina House of Reps. And then he became a senator in 1871 and a member of U.S. Congress in 1884. In conclusion, Robert Smalls was an African American born into slavery. He escaped those clutches of slavery with a cunning escape plan, and he became a politician against all odds. He took his cards that he was given with life, and he transformed them. And from that one day of freedom, from day one, he had freedom on his mind, and he changed that passion into action with thorough planning. It's really interesting to me how he became a representative of Carolina, a state that once tried to put him down, and now it's a place where he governs. It's just really interesting how he transformed his normal life, his normal slavery life, into a life of so much prosperous. That was really interesting. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. My name is again Marisa Stoute. Really appreciate it.